Okay, so what I wanted to do is show y'all the elephant image that I have. This is really fun for me. I go on to Etsy and different types of websites to gain backgrounds that I want to incorporate into my newborn images. This is a lot of my photography friends do this as well, and so fun. Anyhow, I wanted to show you guys the original image. This is the original image I purchased off of Etsy. The shop I purchased it from, I will share in the comments, but this is the original image, and this is what I ended up with. I wanted more of a painterly look, and so I took this original image, I duplicated the layer by hitting Control J, I went to filter, and then I went to stylize and oil paint, mainly because I wanted more of a oil painted look. So if you see this little area on this side, I went and used the oil paint to say okay, and I created him in more of an oil painting. I also wanted to create a black and white image just because I didn't really care for a colored image for this one. So I went and I selected my elephant. I did a reverse selection. Right click, I selected inverse. And then I created a levels layer. That'll give me what I cut out basically. Created another layer, and I wanted my background to be more black. So I went ahead and painted that layer. Let's see. Okay, for black. Okay, you get the idea, right? So I painted the layer black, and I did like a soft overlay or something just to give it a darker tone. I'm not doing it to the extent that I did originally because it took me about 45 minutes. But that's the gist of it. I selected the elephant, I did a deeper selection, and then I made the background darker. And then what I did, let me close this out. And then what I did, let me see, why isn't it working? Delete layers. Okay, I wanted my elephant to be black and white, so I went to Image, Adjustments, Desaturate. So I desaturated my elephant. I then went to levels and did some levels adjustments. Anyhow, so this is the base of what I did. I adjust levels, I work with the color variations that are in the image, and I only affect my elephant and not so much the back of the image. So I've already turned it into a painterly image, and then I wanted black and white. So the end result is this. I went really dramatic with it. I wanted it to be more cartoonish or more painterly, and so that's the end image. So then what I did was I went to find the baby that I was working on, which is this guy. His name is Roman. He is so cute. He was one of my last newborns. His theme for his newborn, his nursery is elephants. So I really wanted to incorporate an elephant in his imagery. And I wanted it to be more painterly and more artistic. So I created that painterly image. So anyhow, how I did it was I selected Roman just like I did the elephant. I came over here and I clicked on my quick selection tool. I selected Roman. Okay. And then I went to select and mask. And what I do at this point is I use these options like the red overlay to show me what I've selected. Marching ants doesn't really help you a whole lot because you see all his little hairs right there. You want to be able to see what hairs were selected. And as you can see, a lot of the little hairs were selected, and I'm okay with that. It doesn't have to be perfect for these type of images. So I just changed these options just to show what I have around him. Once I have everything selected, I do a smooth selection. I have my radius adjusted a bit with Smart Radius, and I feather it a bit just to allow it to blend more. At that point I say okay, and when he's selected on the background layer, I right click and I layer via copy, and that gives me Roman by himself. Okay. I did a more detailed look on this guy on that layer, so I'll go ahead and copy that layer over. So at this point, I have my background layer open. Close this guy. And I'm going to go ahead and right click this layer, duplicate layer into where my elephant is. my updated elephant. And then you'll see him there. Okay. At that point, I hit Control T, and then I adjust the size of the baby. I make sure that this lock is on so it does not adjust or does not make it weird and the baby has a long head or whatever. So I adjust the image to about the size I want to. I'll lower it a little bit. I hit enter. At this point, I'm going to zoom in. Okay. And use how there's this little open spot. I'm going to go ahead and adjust him to be on the elephant before I make the color adjustments. So at this point, I'm going to go to Edit, Puppet Warp. Puppet Warp has these little tacks. So I put 3 tacks on Roman, 1 on the head, 1 on the midpoint that I want to move, and 1 on the tush. So for the midpoint, I want to bring it down a little bit. And what Puppet Warp is the main thing about a puppet. It's going to move pieces of the baby that you want to move. So I pull down the center, and then I push the button for the head, and I move the head, and I make the adjustment for the head to kind of mold him into place. And I'm going to just rough it here, but you get the idea. And I'm going to say okay. So at that point, we went from this to this. I have a preset that I've created, and all they are is fill layers with the medium gray. So I go ahead and play what I call the highlight and shadows. I go ahead and play it. Okay, so the highlight and shadows, how I have them, they're not set on soft light, so I go ahead and adjust those to set on soft light. Let me delete these. So then at this point, I grab one of those shadow layers, ungroup layers. I'm going to grab one of those shadow layers and put one above the background, and then one stays right above the baby. I'm going to right click and create clipping mask. I'm going to go over and grab a brush, a black brush at 10% opacity. What I'm trying to do is to mold the baby more into the image, and so I'm just going to create these little shadows along the edge so it looks like he's on the elephant. It kind of pushes him back a bit. I've taken classes with Aofi. I don't know what her name is. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I've done classes with her and learned all of this stuff. So this is not something that I taught myself or anything like that. The only way I taught myself is through an online workshop with her about a year ago, and I've been addicted to it ever since. Anyhow, I added the shadows to the baby, and it kind of pushes the baby back a little bit. Then I'm going to go behind the baby, which is this layer that's right above the background layer. And I'm going to do the same thing right along where the baby is. And this kind of gives the illusion of a shadow underneath the baby. It also pushes the baby back, showing that there's a shadow on the elephant, where the elephant is. And it just helps to push the baby back just a tad. Okay. So if I zoom out, you can see how the baby kind of flows into the elephant's pocket. And these shadows really, really help kind of create the illusion of the baby being in the little pocket. So here's without anything. It looks like copied and pasted, but with the shadows, it kind of creates the illusion of what we're looking for. So after I'm done with that, what I want to do is I want to create the baby in black and white. So I go and select the layer with the baby, and I'll name it baby. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Desaturate, just like I did with the elephant originally to create this oil painting look. As you notice, the baby's really dull, and we don't want that. So after I desaturate the baby, I'm going to go ahead and go down here to this little oval. I'm going to create a levels layer, and I'm going to increase the levels. And this is a clipping mask to just the baby. So it's not affecting the elephant. It's just affecting the baby. So now I see the levels. They look really good. It gives us some depth and dimension. I'm going to leave it at that. At this point, I'm going to create a curves layer. If you create a curves layer from where you're at, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Create a curves layer. If you create a curves layer from where you're at, it's going to automatically create the clipping mask for you. At that point, you can increase your curve in the middle. and it brightens up the baby. And that's what I really wanted. So I love the brightness of the baby on that one. I'm going to create another curves layer. I'm going to increase the middles again. I'm going to invert the layer by hitting Control I, and then I'm going to zoom into the baby. And I'm just going to kind of paint a white brush at 10% on the baby to give it a little bit more contrast, just in areas that would be showing. And I'll zoom back out so you can see what I did. Okay, so it brightens up the baby's face without brightening the back of the baby, so it looks like the baby's in the little shadowy pocket of the elephant. And that's basically all I did for this image. I incorporated the baby into that little pocket. I think I added a contrast layer, so let me go ahead and do that. I want the baby to have more contrast. There it is. So you don't want too much contrast, but you want to have enough contrast to where it looks really melded in with the image. So I hope this helps someone to play with it, and some of my friends who do a lot of composites, I hope this helps you guys too. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day. Bye.